Some folks seem pretty upset over this Connecticut Sun sale situation. I can't say I am one of those folks that is pissed off about it, but here is some of the reaction that you've seen. Senator Richard Blumenthal, WNBA put a full court press on blocking the Sun from staying in Connecticut. Deeply harmful to fans that live and breathe basketball. DOJ should investigate and stop such anti-competitive interference. Look, let's unpack this for a second, right? So the Connecticut Sun, we're going to be sold to one of the owners of the Celtics, right? Like that was let's unpack this for a second, right? So the Connecticut Sun, we're going to be sold to one of the owners of the Celtics, right? Like that was agreed to. And that I get. Like Boston, WNBA team, Boston sports fans, region remains the same, even if it's a different location. Like I understand, I guess, being pissed that didn't go down. As far as the Connecticut Sun themselves, I don't think that team had much juice relative to the rest of the league. Let's just be real about it. It was not a destination. It was not a destination. It was not one of those teams. If you're another team, you get excited about playing. You're circling on the calendar, and the facilities were not up to par. They're sharing courts for kids' birthday parties and stuff like that. And in this new CBA, that's part of it is making sure all the facilities are up to par. So just keeping it status quo, I get why that wasn't the case. Just even moving, somewhere in Connecticut, Hartford was another suggestion. But with the ownership change, could have been the upgrades. So that's one argument. Putting in that bid. But you can see the other side of it as well if you're, I think, fairly looking at it. The WNBA case would be that they tried to skip the line, more or less. That's essentially what they said. Sun ownership, however, initially reached a deal last summer to sell the team for a record $325 million, which, by the way, needs to be appreciated. I think that the price here is $300 million to go to Houston, to relaunch the Comets, which I haven't even mentioned up until this point. And there's some history there, of course. But just the fact that the Connecticut Sun are selling for upwards of which I haven't even mentioned up until this point. And there's some history there, of course. But just the fact that the Connecticut Sun are selling for upwards of $300 million is one of the surest signs of growth of the league that there's been, right? Like, I think they might have been bought for 10 million or something along those lines. That's an explosive growth. And it's one of the arguments I made going into the CBA as to how you can say you know, where the trajectory of the WNBA is headed beyond just simple revenue, net revenue, game in, game out. Teams that have put bids in, that have gotten rewarded for doing so. WNBA effectively blocked the deal from progressing, holding firm that relocation decisions are made by the WNBA Board of Governors and not by individual teams, and that cities have already gone through the expansion process, which included Houston. Those cities have priority over Boston. And we know we're getting Cleveland. We know we're getting Philadelphia. Obviously, the tempo, Toronto and Portland are entering this year. And now you're going back to Houston. Now the cynic could say it's the Fertitta family, right? And the NBA rewarding one of its own because priority over Boston. And we know we're getting Cleveland. We know we're getting Philadelphia. Obviously, the tempo, Toronto and Portland are entering this year. And now you're going back to Houston. Now the cynic could say it's the Fertitta family, right? And the NBA rewarding one of its own because of the Houston Rockets connection. The Sun will play one more season in Connecticut before relocating in 2020. So I sit on the side of I understand why the Sun are being moved. I understand why this is happening. I